Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are a couple of days removed from the latest balance patch, and it's time to give you guys decks recommend to climb, whether it be standard or wild, trying to get to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or legend. And we have a lot of decks to recommend in standard. I think I've got 15 total, one for every class. And wild, I'm not going to recommend rogue for like the first time ever. So quite a bit of change, although a lot of familiar faces. And as always, if you enjoyed the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as we're on the road to 85,000 subs. We're getting like super close. Thank you guys. So starting off, we have, as expected, one of the best decks, if not the best deck out there. Insanity Warlock is doing very well. It is still running Tie Pull Pupil, which was nerfed from 1 to 2 mana, but effectively you want to ramp up your fatigue, not by actually getting to fatigue, but by, you know, encroaching insanity. Ramping that all up, you can get a big board fill with your Crazed Conductor, or win the late game in like OTK with a lot of crescendos that you can copy with Pupil or Fizzle. And yeah, very effective deck before the nerfs. Very slight nerf to it with Pupil going to 2, and it is still doing incredibly well. And Pain Warlock as well, really solid deck, not nerfed at all from the latest patch. I don't think it was, you know, wasn't a Pupil type of deck. You want to just spam really big things as fast as possible, whether that's Molten Giant, Imprison Horror. You have a lot of ways to get yourself damage with like Blood Treant, the brand new Party Fiend, which is super good, and you can build like a giant Flame Juggler at some point if you've taken a lot of self damage. And again, this deck's been really good for quite some time. Couple new tools, sadly, like barely anything from the set, like all the later game stuff. Why bother? It's 6 mana. We're not playing, you know, ultra late game control here. We don't want to bother with that. So yeah, and your Zilliax has your pylon and ticking module. The one deck we're gonna go with for Paladin, Handbuff, still doing really well. I think the like Sea Giant Paladin's good too, but Handbuff Paladin just seems to be the deck of choice. You got Senkazel in there, brand new card that's just really solid. Your Zilliax has your power module, twin module, because you're hand buffing, right? And you get both of them. You get a double dip on all those hand buffs, but basically, find that Painter's Virtue, get a lot of healing, get a lot of hand buffing. You can win through like just charge damage with Deckhand and Leroy Jenkins, heal a ton with your Tigress plushie, or, you know, try and control the board with your Amethyst and Yogg. You probably know the deal by now. This version doesn't look to be as teched out, or like teched out at all compared to older ones. Much more just let's play the good cards, and probably the best way to go if you're going for a more general climb and not like, you know, playing at the higher ranks. 2 Deathlite decks to recommend. I'm not gonna recommend Triple Blood. It's fun, kind of. It's a struggle. It doesn't perform amazingly well, but if you want to play the Triple Blood deck we had a video on a while ago, that's probably the list I would recommend. But Double Frost seems to be the way to go, the most powerful of the Deathlite decks, but not that far ahead of Rainbow, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, the Razzle Dazzler, giving you insane board states. You got Gorgon Zormu in there, you can cheese it up, but mostly want to play that for tempo. And yeah, people have been playing a lot of Cold Feet lately. Letting your opponents play minions can be pretty effective when everyone's playing Battle Cry minions, and all of that can be pretty solid. Tie Pull Pupil does not seem to be worth the cut so much anymore, but Blood Mage Thalnos getting in there because ramps really well when you have spell damage like Malted Magma. All your burn spells can be nice, and it's just funny that Double Frost is like really good in standard, and none of the Frost cards from this expansion are in here. Not even Corpsicle, because that is too slow. That's the state of the game, but it's not too slow, I believe. Let's double check here. In Rainbow Mage, the Rainbow list, yes, does run double Corpsicle, pretty much the same list we saw way back when Theo like tried this out day 1. Pretty much the same thing. You got Reska, you got Zilliax with your twin module, perfect module. Some people run Yogg instead. Zilliax is just a lot of healing, which can be really good. And yeah, you grind your opponent down with that Corpsicle reach, with obviously Horizon's Edge, an absolutely phenomenal location. And you got Eliza in there, buttons to let you play with those Shaman cards, and probably my favorite deck of this expansion. Probably what I'm planning on trying to climb to legend with in the next like day. Is it like tomorrow the season starts? I think. Regardless, really sick deck, and definitely cooking the set. It's been doing really well. Priest, again, might be the best class on ladder. Like at the Masters Tour, everybody brought it, and it's doing well. First, the more easier to play deck, Zarimi Priest, where you just spam your dragons to the point where you can take that extra turn with Timewiner Zarimi, play some Thirsty Drifters with it, play your Zilliax with your Pylon ticking module, murder your opponent, or maybe just get that really good tempo. That can really help for that. We do run Chilled Vol'jin, the Hunter Tourist, allowing us to run not a ton of new cards, but you get the Fishing Rod in there, which can really help out, and Sasquatch to replay your hand. Very effective deck, has been proven to be good at high legend across all ranks, and yeah, Priest actually using some Hunter cards, and I guess Hunter is using their cards now, but more of like older stuff, which we'll go over in a second. We do have a Hunter deck, but yeah, the deck that's really like at high legend, at higher ranks, doing really well. Again, at the Masters Tour, did really well. Overheal Priest, where you have Amanthul, of course, is your late game, which you can bring back with Rest in Peace, or you can bring back Heartbreaker Adonis to OTK, just push a bunch of damage. You also, of course, have in here Chillin' Vol'jin, so we can play bird watching in particular. I don't even know, again, are we running much of anything else? It just looks like bird watching just to get those specific minions is quite nice. And Vol'jin's just a good card. Like, it's just a good card. You might not even play Hunter cards and still play Vol'jin. Swapping stats can be really good. But yeah, it's knowing how to manage this deck. It's definitely one that takes some time managing all your 1 mana spells, rip it through your deck with your Crimson Clergy, and I don't think we're running Pupil anymore. Doesn't seem to be making quite as much as the cut in this deck. And one thing you'll note, Injured Hauler can just control the board. It's a card you might really want to focus on, especially against the board-based token decks. Can just clear infinitely with all that health. It can be really hard to remove. Next, we have Reno Druid, the Tempo Dragon Druid. Does seem to be doing all right, but we'll recommend something different, right? Because the numbers actually might be a little bit better on a Reno Druid this meta than the last one, where, yeah, this is teched out with some greed. Got Aviana Mind Control tech for like removal, and yeah, it's your usual Reno pile, random secrets mixologist, but of course your late game is where it gets expensive and what you want to play this deck for, with like Riastraza, Yogg, Zilliax has Twin Module, Perfect Module. Funny, we don't really see much of the Virus Module anymore, and ENR Reno, all of that. It's pretty effective. Like, this deck seems to be doing okay, even at high legend. Limited sample size, but if you want to try Druid, try some Reno Druid again with some of the new tools from the set. This list seems to be doing quite all right. Hunter has made a comeback. Egg Hunter seems to be a legitimate deck in standard with the recently buffed Mystery Egg, and getting all those beasts out, whether it's Hollow Hound, Mr. Mukla, King Plush. You can bring them all back with Strangle Thorn Heart. You can Yelling Yodeler your egg to get a lot of value out of it, and you got some new cards in here like Bird Watching to discover specific stuff. And you have the win condition of throwing like an Absorbent Parasite onto, say, a Hollow Hound, onto your charge or rush minion, getting that attack buff and always a bigger Jormungandr to push an insane amount of damage and possibly just kill your opponent. Punish them for playing minions. My favorite thing in Hearthstone. But yes, Hunter seems to be back, and there's like a hand buff list going around. We might have a follow-up video on this, although we're expecting a mini set announcement later, but we'll see. Hunter's going to be further refined. This is really early, but probably a good starting point if you want to try and play some Hunter this expansion. Reno Warrior seems to be the best performing warrior deck still. Odin Warrior seems to be okay, but yeah, you want to get to your brand, your boom boss, although only really good at the slower matchups. Every other matchup, you just want to try and stay alive, whether it's Zilliax with your Twin Module, Perfect Module. You don't even bring back, this list is not running the Mech Summoner. I can't remember the name at this point, but you got the Druid cards in here. You got Ham, your ETC is an armor vendor, Zola, and you could go Insidious, right? Brand, get that going. You could go like Brand, player ETC, get Insidious Zola, Insidious Zola the Insidious, and just go crazy with that. So there's a lot of crazy things you can do in the late game. It's just, yeah, can I survive to that point? And you use all the anti-aggro stuff you can to get there. And yeah, Reno Druid, probably the best warrior deck to go with if that's what you're looking for. Rogue, which is by far the worst class across all ranks, still high legend, doing really well. The deck of choice now, instead of Infinite Sonya, because you can't go infinite with Pupil, is to abuse Sonya. It's always abusing Sonya, because I'm sorry, I can't stand this card, what it does. But this time, you just build up giant weapons on your quick pick with Mic Drop and your Harmonic Hip Hop, and you can get a ton of deadly poisons, whether it be deadly poison itself, whether it be from your Valera's gift, and all that, and just possibly OTK. You can absolutely do that. Air guitars to extend a weapon, and yeah, if you get frozen a lot, like say you're facing Death Knight and they can freeze your face, this deck's not super effective. But other than that, apparently at higher ranks, it's doing really well. And again, that's the playstyle Sonya provides. Really degenerate crap. I'm gonna continue to complain about it. I don't care until that. I can't imagine this card stays. Buff everything else. Let Rogue do something other than just infinite mana spam with Sonya. But yes, if you want to play that, seems to be doing well. Shaman, I got 2 decks, the more conventional like Bonk Shaman, which uses like Carefree Cookie to get those really good Demon Hunter cards, the Pirates. You got your early game Pirate package, and then you got your late game where you have like Horn of the Windlord. You could turn the tides and just push a ton of damage, possibly almost like OTK style damage. Zeliax in here with Pilot Module, Ticking Module, and just kind of like that mid-range effective tokeny aggro deck with one wave of nostalgia in there just for like a big board spam or scam with like your pop-up books or your cheap tokens, which can be pretty darn effective. A new deck that has been popping up, I think Jambre, again, the Madman, popularizing this one, Cliff Dive. Yes, Cliff Dive in a deck, and it's got a positive win rate at Legend, Diamond through Legend. This is probably like our spiciest deck of the whole bunch, where you Cliff Dive and you can cheat out like a Yogg, a Walking Mountain, a Kolagarn. Sometimes you get Razzle Dazzler, but they go back in your deck, right? So you don't necessarily lose that card. And what you can do when those cards come out, you can evolve them with Muck Pools, and then they don't go back, and you get like a big giant body, and you can do some pretty crazy stuff. So this deck's trending all right. You got it's kind of weird, right? Cliff diving with like a Hagatha, a Carefree Cookie. How does that work? But apparently it has been, and is certainly a deck that I wouldn't highly recommend, but if it's something you have a lot of these cards, absolutely give it a try. Maybe we'll even have a video on it to show that, yeah, Cliff Dive might actually be a meta card, not necessarily Demon Hunter, but for Shaman. And then Mage is probably, I feel like, the worst class overall, even more the Rogue. At least Rogue has like the high legend Sonya decks that it could use. Spell Mage is pretty much the same we've seen for a while this set, where you're doing the Seabreeze Chalice and really trying to roll your spells cost 1 less with your elemental companion. Is it Hifar? It's called, yeah, Hifar, which can be really good. Sometimes the Liuk, you know, it's the whole animal companion thing. Regardless, that can be really good and just burn your opponent out. You have Spot the Difference, as well as like Cosmic Keyboard to give you early tempo. And yeah, this deck seems to be doing okay. It's like always around like 50-ish%, but that's basically as good as it gets for Mage. And I'm very, very low recommendation, if not any recommendation. But if you want to try a big Spell Mage, this was the best performing list I could find. Recently buffed Tsunami, DJ Mana Storm, all that stuff. You got King Tide in here, and yeah, you're trying to scam and hit your under the scene to crazy stuff and try and win. Like, it's at best 50% at Legend that I could find. This is, yeah, a list I would not go out of my way to craft any of these cards. It's just, if you have them and you want to try big Spell Mage with the buffs, this is probably as good as it's going to get for you. And it probably won't, you know, unless you get really lucky and stuff, it probably won't feel amazing enough to really jam that hard. But I wanted to throw that in there. But still, pretty much every class we got represented there. So a lot of decks to try out in Wild. Yeah, we actually had Wild changes. Sorcerer's Apprentice, Passage, Null. So let's recommend Pirate Demon Hunter. Pretty much the most popular, and like Demon Hunter is approaching like 60% win rate across all ranks. I don't think it's like an unbeatable deck or anything, but this is a very effective aggro deck where, yeah, sometimes you just auto win because you had Distributor and your 1-mana Pirates and you kill your opponent. You got Draw in here with like Quick Pick, Magnifying Glaive, and really good stuff with like your location. You can set up a lot of burn with like Ship's Cannon or your pirate buffs and all of that. Your Zeliax has Pylon Module, Ticking Module, And you do have Kurtrus in here. It's really good once you get like your tokens going and get the hero power every time a minion attacks for +2 attack. So deck's really good. I've tried it out a decent amount for like the pirate achievement lately, and this is definitely a deck you will get it done really quickly. The pirate, not achievement, but the weekly quest, you'll get that done really fast and also likely win a lot of games. Shadow Priest, really good still. Not much changed here. Go face, play 1 mana pirate similar to Demon Hunter. Just doesn't have the draw. It's much more all in early game. Cathedral of Atonement and Deceptor, right? Are like your really only draw options, and Raised Dead's kind of like draw, and yeah, you can win again turn 1 with your pirate scams. Basically, Inner Fire Priest or Divine Spirit Priest without those cards is trending really well in higher ranks in Legend, where Radiant Elemental, how long do you think this card will last with your spells cost 1 less? Lets you just cheat out all these 1 mana spells and then just play Grave Horrors and copy them, and then you have Svalna in there for infinite shadow spells if the game gets to that point, and it seems to be doing really well, and I see it a lot of the time, and it drives me absolutely crazy. And yeah, a card like Shadow Devour can just farm pirate decks so hard, where you create just a big thing that nobody can ever kill, and the taunts to protect you as well. Reno Druid seems to be pretty solid with all the ramp options. There's so much. This list I saw got like 12 wins in the Heroic Brawl. It runs Mista Vista, so you can actually have some AoE like Rising Waves in particular. And yeah, very budget friendly deck, as you can see with all the legendaries here. If you happen to have these cards, I can attest this deck has done pretty well, and it's pretty fun. And you know, you can get to over 20 mana with this thing, right? You can guff and then play New Heights and get to like 23. Like, why? I don't know, but you can. Or even Solar Eclipse it, or do just stupid things when you can have basically infinite mana. And lastly, yeah, Egg Hunter, not dead. Not dead by a long shot. Naval Mine seems to be effective enough because, yeah, you basically get the egg out earlier now than before. Your Lion basically lets you always control the board because it's infinite rushers that just keeps clearing. And then you stall until you get to that mine combo with Bran, where you just play Bran, a mine, and then Lion, and it all stacks. And as he showed yesterday, you can do like easily like over 60 damage with one of those damn things. And yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be a top tier deck, but if it is, probably a deck that will get nerfed, because infinite loops are not a good thing for Hearthstone typically. I mean, they've always been nerfed, pretty much almost always. Even Shutterwalk back in the day was nerfed for standard. They reverted it later, but still, yeah, Egg Hunter still seems to be a pretty good deck. So there you go. That is a lot of decks to try out standard wild. I imagine our next deck recommendation video will be after the mini set, which I think we'll hear about next week. So yeah, probably not going to update on this current meta, but you know, Legend Climbs or whatever climb you got going starts really soon. So good luck with that. Enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe. Good luck on your climbs. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.